Welcome back to Polar Warriors, and here are 10 things that I strongly suggest not saying to someone with bipolar disorder, and why. A lot of people just don't know enough about bipolar to know better, so sharing this video might help people that you care about to help you. Now, these aren't in any particular order of importance, and I'm sure there's a lot more, so if I missed one that really chaps your ass, add it to the comments below the video. So, the first cringe-worthy statement would be, why don't you just snap out of it? This is a horrible thing to say because it insinuates that we're choosing to be like this, or that there's some magic normal button that we can press and all of a sudden puppies and rainbows are going to appear. When we're so depressed that we feel physically ill and can't even get out of bed, saying something like this can imply that we aren't doing what we can to get better. Saying snap out of it would be like telling someone who just lost their entire family and is in paralyzing pain to just get over it. It really isn't fair or realistic. All right, so now for number 2. This would be saying something like, are you taking your meds? Or did you go off your meds or something? Now, let me say right off the bat that the side effects from the meds that we have to take can be compared to how bad some people react to going through chemotherapy, okay? It is so challenging to be bipolar in general. Even without the addition of the horrible nightmare side effects that we go through, there's no quick fix to bipolar, and the medications only help with a small part of the illness. It doesn't cure it. So there's still going to be times where the sky is falling, and when we're at our absolute lowest, bringing up medication, if you don't know what we're experiencing, just isn't appropriate. Now, if you're a close friend or family member and genuinely concerned that we missed a dose or we quit medications, that's a little different, but even still, it needs to be approached with gentle, loving kindness. That's really important. And on to number 3, which is saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The actual number of people who are mentally ill and end their lives is staggering, and it's a serious problem. When I get to my darkest places, sometimes my mind literally obsesses over ending it all. And it can get so bad that all I keep thinking is things like, someday this is going to be the end of me. Now, the only time you should ever mention suicide, or even an expression that correlates to it, to someone who is suffering from bipolar disorder, is if you are truly worried about them harming themselves and coming from a place of genuine concern. Otherwise, even mentioning it or an expression can be a really bad trigger. Cliche things like this, or even the song, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, might work for some people, but just not us. It's just a total no-no subject unless there's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. All right, on to the 4th one, and that would be saying, but you act so normal. Now, when I'm in public or I'm at work, unless I'm experiencing really bad psychosis, I don't tend to tell everyone I meet, especially those that aren't close to me, about how crappy my life can be. I mean, who wants to hear that, right? Or sometimes I'm manic and extremely happy and maybe in between cycles, and in that case, sure, it might appear that I'm totally functioning like a normal individual. However, when I'm severely depressed, I'm usually at home in bed, not out with friends or on the job smiling and talking to coworkers. So when the general public sees us, a lot of the time they see us on a good day. So if someone had a brain tumor per se, how would it sound if I just said, well, they don't look sick, they look so normal? Anyways, not good. And on to number 5. Now, this is a bad one, and I'm talking no man's land, okay? And that would be to say something like, it must be your time of the month. I mean, I don't even know what to say to this one. It's cruel, ignorant, provoking. You almost couldn't say a more insulting thing to a woman when she's struggling. Now, hormonal changes can affect moods a lot, but passing off someone's bipolar struggles as nothing more than just PMS symptoms is just wrong. Now, Any woman would be pissed if you made a statement like this, and it's only going to be amplified by someone who's suffering from bipolar disorder symptoms as well. So just don't go there, like, ever. All right, on to the sixth thing not to say to someone with bipolar disorder, and that would be to say something like, everyone's a little bipolar sometimes, or everybody has mood swings. Okay, so does it drive anybody else crazy that the term bipolar has become this trendy catchphrase for anyone who's acting in a way that people just don't understand? How many times have you heard something like, oh my God, Becky, like she is totally bipolar? Now, it's true, part of the human experience is to go through different moods, but for most people, they usually aren't paralyzed from depression and can't even work or spend their entire life savings when they're manic. Having mood swings is normal, sure, but having diagnosed mental illness is a whole different ballgame. All right, on to number 7. This would be saying, have you tried going to church or praying for it to go away? I think meditation and prayer personally can be really powerful tools, sure. And I know someone diabetic who goes to church, but the priest doesn't tell her to pray it away. And I also know a really good Christian man that has a son with Down syndrome, and he isn't expecting by any means that God is just going to make that go away either. It doesn't mean that praying for someone's suffering isn't a noble gesture. And we really have to understand that they really are just trying to help, but they clearly need to understand that bipolar disorder is a permanent, non-curable mental illness. And with all due respect to my religious viewers, I know you're just trying to help, but for those of us who have to live with bipolar every single day, it just adds salt in the wound to insinuate that prayer is all we need. Instead, try saying something like, hey, do you want to get out of the house and come to church with me sometime? That's a million times better than telling someone with diagnosed mental illness to just pray it away. After all, you wouldn't tell someone diagnosed with an illness like diabetes that they don't need insulin, they just need God, right? I mean, think about a different approach here. All right, so now for number 8 on our list, and that would be to say something like, happiness is just a choice. Now, this one really gets to me. Sure, there's choices we can all make that can lead to a happier life, but it isn't that simple. To think so really shows that a person needs to read a book about bipolar disorder. I wouldn't tell someone in a wheelchair that being in that chair is a choice. I mean, could you imagine how that would make them feel? Brain scans like MRIs and CT scans have shown how different our brains are from the average individual. We just can't control the abnormal chemical reactions and neurotransmitters that affect happiness. Now, I'm a huge fan of self-help and positive thinking, especially with how over time we really can change some of the neural connections in our brain and make things a little easier. But there's still times when the uncontrollable release or dump of chemicals into our brains is just beyond what any human can choose to control. This would be like, again, like telling someone who's chemically high on crank or meth to just calm down and go to sleep. Our bodies can naturally produce really similar bursts of energy when we're manic, just like it can produce an overwhelming amount of chemicals that prevent us from feeling happy as well. It's really powerful stuff. Now, we're close to the end here, and on to the 9th thing, and this would be telling someone who's bipolar, how could you be depressed? You're so well off. You have it so good. If having it so good makes people happy, then why do so many stars who have literally everything we could dream of end up killing themselves or escaping with drugs all the time? Now, I'm so grateful for the things that I even have, but even if I lived in a mansion, there'd still be times where a gold toilet seat sure isn't going to make everything better, or a great job. When bipolar people are manic, we can accomplish really incredible things, and there's many of us out there who live very successful lives. Many movie stars have come out and said that they're bipolar, but all we see is a nice house and how much they make us laugh in the movies. Who would have even thought that Robin Williams, of all people, would have gone out the way that he did, right? Unless you live with us all the time and you see the ugly sides of this illness that usually only our family or our spouses witness, it can be really easy to assume that just because we're successful, we're just happy people. It doesn't work that way. And I think it's really important more than ever that people talk about what goes on behind these closed doors, so assumptions like this aren't made so easily. Mental illness is still a huge stigma that people just don't talk about, and we need to change that. We've made it all the way to number 10, the last one on this short list of things to never say to someone with bipolar disorder. And the last one would be saying something like, have you ever tried taking XYZ so you can get off all those pills? Or I guess another version of this would be, I saw this doctor on TV or read this book and they said if you take a bunch of whatever they're selling, that it's cured bipolar people. Now, at first this used to really piss me off, but now I really just laugh at how ridiculous this is. I mean, well, that depends on what mood I'm in, but for the last time, this is a serious, life-threatening, incurable illness. Now, there's lots of people out there that can manage it extremely well, but it's still there in the background. And I'm not going to risk losing my job, destroying my relationship, and becoming suicidal because of some herb or supplement that could have really grave consequences if I try it. Now, people who are suggesting things like this probably have never seen what it's like when we quit taking our meds, and I sure as hell don't want to see that either. So we have to kind of understand both sides and help educate people that just don't understand. So that, my friends, wraps up this list of 10 things that people should not say to someone who's bipolar. I know there are so many more, and I could probably make an 8-hour video on this topic. So if I missed one that just keeps resounding in your head, please throw it in the comments below to help educate others. Please remember to be constructive, because we have to see some of the innocence in someone out there or people in our lives that are just trying to help and they don't have a clue or the resources to know what we're going through. So if you're the bipolar one, or if you know someone who is, I've got many more videos on this channel that could help everyone. So I encourage you to check them out. Remember to show your support, please, for what I'm doing by becoming a Polar Warrior subscriber, or at least give the video a like. Anyways, stay well, stay peaceful, and I really hope to see you here for another video. Take care.